Good morning. Jared Wilson, can you turn on your camera, please? Okay, there he is. Okay. Good morning, everyone. Notice of this meeting has been posted online for at least 72 hours. Members of the Commercial and Residential Board of Adjustments may be attending virtually in compliance with the Texas Open Meetings Act. Staff present today are Beth Knight, Ashley Tolliver, Stacy Jones, Karen Moreno, Denisha London, Scott Bellin, and Trey Qualls. Chair, will you please call the meeting to order?
Thank you. This is Deborah Freed, and this meeting of the Board of Adjustment will now come to order. Due to the transition to the new City Hall chamber, the live stream signal for the meeting may not be at full strength. A clearer recording of the meeting will be uploaded and made available after the meeting. It is the 19th of March, 2025, and I welcome everyone to the Board of Adjustment for Commercial Matters. This board is a citizen board appointed by City Council. By state law, a minimum of 9 members or alternate members must be present to provide a quorum in order to conduct business. Today we have a quorum with, I believe, 10 members. Today's meeting agenda can be found online at www.fortworthtexas.gov. Speaker registration forms for cases on today's agenda should have been turned in prior to the start of this session. Today's public hearing is being documented by cable television and video conference recording, which will be available on the city's website. To facilitate an orderly meeting, I am asking everyone in council chambers to turn off the audible alarms on your electronic devices at this time so we will not be distracted during our meeting. I would also request that board members mute your microphones either online or on the dais unless you are speaking. If you have phoned in to represent your case or speak in opposition, please keep your phone muted until it is time for you to speak. Each case will be called in the sequence listed on the agenda unless otherwise directed by me, the chair. The Board of Adjustment requests the following rules of procedure to be respected. Each case will be introduced by the City of Fort Worth Development Services Department. After presenting the facts of the case, the Board of Adjustment Commissioners will have the opportunity to question the city about the case and any applicable laws or regulations that might apply. This portion of this discussion is exclusively between city staff and the commissioners. And on the back. As your case is being called, we ask that you move to the front row of chambers if you are to present or prepare your camera and phone if you are to speak participating remotely. You will have 7 minutes to present the facts of your case and why you believe your application meets the criteria for approval. If more than one person is presenting the case, it is necessary to divide the total 7 minutes among all parties so you do not exceed the allotted time. After the applicant has presented their case, I will call for the opposition to come forward. This is their opportunity to express why they believe the variance or special exception should not be approved. The opposition is also allotted a total of 7 minutes of time to be shared among all speakers. If opposition is presented to the variance or special exception, the applicant will have an additional 3 minutes of rebuttal time. The chair may allow a few more seconds on each presentation to ensure a speaker's final point can be made. After the parties have presented their positions, the board members will have the opportunity to ask questions of the applicant and opposition. During this time, all speakers must remember that all dialogue be directed to the Board of Adjustment only. There is no time limit during the question and answer period. After the board members have received answers to their questions, I will close the public portion of the hearing. Commissioners can discuss the case among themselves and city staff to determine whether or not an application meets or does not meet the criteria for approval. After this discussion, I will ask for a motion to approve, deny, or continue the case. City staff will call for a voice vote from each member. If an application is denied, an applicant will have 10 days in which to appeal to the court of the appropriate jurisdiction. For more information on this and additional information on any case on today's agenda, You may contact the Board of Adjustment at 817-392-8026 after this meeting. If necessary, a closed executive session may be held with respect to the posted agenda items to enable the Board of Adjustment to receive advice from legal staff. The first order of business is to approve the minutes from the February 2025 minutes. We are now open for a motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Staff, will you call for a vote?
Josh Lindsay,
Yes.
Tony Perez,
Yes.
Deborah Freed,
Yes.
Bob Riley,
Yes.
James Hook,
Yes.
Jared Wilson,
Yes.
Darren Hoppy,
Approve.
Kay Duffy,
Yes.
Jana Herrera,
Abstain.
Virginia Morello.
Approve.
The motion passes.
Thank you. So staff, will you call our first case?
Yes, so Madam Chair, we're still trying to get the applicant online for the first case. Do you mind if we move this case to the end of the agenda?
No problem at all. So let's call the second case, BAC 25-008.
BAC-25-008, the address of the property is 3407 Sycamore School Road. Ashley?
So this property is located near the corner of McCart and Sycamore School Road. The request is to allow a special exception to permit a monument sign with electronic changeable copy. The zoning is PD 245, and I will explain that PD in just a moment. Here is the aerial map and the site photo. For lot history, there was a Board of Adjustments case in 2014 to allow a monument sign with electronic copy that was approved with the condition that the operation was limited to 7 a.m. through midnight. That was approved in July of 2014. There was a sign permit in 2014, sign permit for a detached illuminated monument sign with ECC, but that permit did expire in 2015. The new building, the building on the site, was constructed in 2013, and it was finalized in 2014. So the subject property is located along a principal arterial right-of-way, and it's located in an established commercial area. There is currently a laundromat operating on site. The property is zoned PD 245, which permits all the uses within the E commercial district, as well as an automotive lubrication facility. The adjacent properties to the east, west, and south are zoned E, and the north is zoned PD 285, 299, and 341, which is occupied by Walmart and the supporting retail businesses in that area. The proposed monument sign is 61 square feet in area, with the electronic changeable portion being 14 square feet, or 22% of the overall face area of the sign. The closest existing residential use is a residential subdivision located approximately 300 feet east, and there is a church located between the subject property and the residential subdivision. There are several ECC signs in the area. Most of them are located right at the intersection of Sycamore and McCart. So just for reference, here, this is where the residential subdivision begins. The church is here, and the closest electronic copies are in this area here.
We don't see anything.
Oh, okay, well, that's, all right, so the yellow is where the closest residential property is. The property that's immediately between the yellow and the subject property that's circled is the church. And then right there along the corner of McCart and Sycamore, notably on the northwestern and the southwestern corner, are electronic changeable copies. The Walmart is across the street at Sycamore School Road. Let me go to the sign to show you all the proposal. Here is the proposal for the sign. The location has been approved by zoning plans exam, and the only hold on the permit for zoning plans exam was the electronic changeable copy. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have for me at this time. Nope, they're gonna see if it works. Nope.
I have a question.
Yes,
So when it was approved before, it was limited to 7 a.m. to midnight.
yes.
And you say there are several other electronic changeable copy ECCs
There are.
around. Are they limited?
They are not. So one is a pole sign at a Walgreens, and the other one is a gas station that has the prices on it. So they're not limited, but they're right there. I'm not sure if they were located there prior to any ordinance updates or not. They've been there for quite a while.
Okay, so would the ordinance by law limit?
The board can stipulate the hours
It
of
dims,
operation.
I know that there's dimming requirements and
Yes,
things
so
like that.
they cannot exceed the foot candles for the
Right.
ordinance in those situations, correct?
But actually limiting whether or not it's on or off, I don't know that we've put those into we have,
Yeah.
Beth? Okay, all right, thank you. Are there any other questions for staff? Yes, Ms. Herrera?
I have a question. Is
Yes.
this sign compatible with what's in that area?
So it's, with Sycamore School Road being an arterial, it's not necessarily incompatible. There's several commercial uses in the area. I would say that the biggest incompatibility would be the location of the church. They don't have an electronic changeable copy, and then the residential directly to the east of the church. But it's not necessarily incompatible. They would have to require a special exception, but theoretically, any of the properties around could come and request a special exception. And with it being a major or an arterial street, the impact is different than if it were a residential or a minor street.
Has the church come forward to,
We have not received any opposition that I'm aware of.
thank you.
I do have a question.
Yes,
Okay, so there is a height restriction on this sign
Yes.
anyway, right? So it wouldn't, it's not like it's going to be, 20, 30 feet in the air illuminating the whole
no,
neighborhood.
it cannot exceed the 8 feet in height from grade. So
Which
the
typically will-
sign meets all of the other requirements for the ordinance for a monument sign.
Right, and with the church as a buffer, it's not likely to impact the residential area. That's just, a point that I'm trying to
Right.
illustrate. Thank you.
Did I notice there was a previous sign there?
There was a previous sign there. A permit was issued for the sign that's existing, but the permit expired in 2015,
thank you.
thus needing the new exception.
Okay, it appears our questions have been answered. Thank you very much. Will the applicant please step forward and provide us with your name and address, and then why we should approve?
My name is David Irwin. I represent Signs by Tomorrow, who is representing this Laundromax out of New Jersey. We build the signs. There is an existing structure there currently, which is the brick structure in the picture. So the cabinet was removed, so currently it's pretty much an eyesore. So the new sign is beneficial to the community as it advertises a need, which is the Laundromax. The electronic sign was permitted back in 2015, I believe. And so this is just, we'll abide by whatever guidelines y'all set forth as far as the dimming or the time for the digital display to be on. So that's all I have.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there anyone else to speak in favor of this? That said, is anybody here or online to speak in opposition? That being the case, I will close the public portion, and we are now open on the dais for discussion and/or a motion.
I have a question.
Yes,
What, is the Laundromax already in operation?
Yes, if you'd step forward to the microphone again. That's required because this is recorded.
Yes, the laundromat is currently open and doing a vigorous business.
Thank you.
Hours of operation?
I do not know that answer, sir.
And what would the changeable type be used for? I mean, on a gas station, I understand. I was just wondering what,
Just basic advertising and specials.
so just advertisement and specials.
Are there any other questions? Okay. Thank you. Commissioners, do we have any comments? Yes, Mr. Perez, are you getting ready?
Yeah, yes, actually. Yeah, I will say that on a road like this with all the different businesses, it'd be actually rare for no ECC signs to be on there. So I don't see a problem with this. The height restriction allows for the light not to invade into the residential area. And, you know, the fact being that there were similar signs there before, I don't see a problem with this and I can support it. And unless there's another comment, I'd like to make a motion.
Why, I'm curious, why was there, and maybe this is a question for staff, why was there a time?
Restriction?
Yeah, restriction, thank you.
I'm not sure of what the reasoning for the restriction was whenever I was able to look at the approval letter, and I did try to go and do a little bit of research on that. I believe it was just because it's such a busy road, if I remember correctly, it's such a busy street, it was to distract from distractions in the middle of the night from drivers.
So then we could put a restriction on there that says that the sign can be illuminated, but the changeable copy would go dark at a certain time.
That is correct, and that was what the previous approval stipulated.
But we don't have hours of operation for the facility, but I mean, I'm assuming it's not a 24-hour
I
facility?
believe it is a 24-hour facility.
Yeah.
Give me just a second, and I can try to look that up. They are open 24 hours according to Google.
Ms. Duffy?
Do we have time limitations on the Walmart or the Taco Bell or any of the businesses across the street?
We do not. I believe that Walmart during 2020 changed from a 24-hour operation to, I believe they close at 11 now.
But for their signs, are we
sure.
limiting their signs in any sort of way?
So they do not have any electronic changeable copies. They just have the signs that are allowed by right.
Right, so I'm thinking, you know, my thought is have the sign to where it can be illuminated, but the ECC goes off at a specific time at night or something, 11 p.m.
Okay.
Another comment regarding that, you know, since the other signs in the area don't have limited times on it, I wonder if it'd be safer to just say it's allowed to be illuminated while they're open. So if they ever change their operation to less than a 24-hour service, I, as a general public driving back and say, oop, their light's out, I can't go. I
Okay with that.
I don't have a problem with them staying on, but I'm just looking for grounds of compromise.
I could support that, especially because the ordinance already has a requirement to dim the sign after a certain time, correct? In the evening?
Correct. Okay, so do we have a motion? Oh, Ms. Duffy?
In order to complicate the city's life less, I don't see any advantage to the people who live there to not just go with the ordinance as written in terms of night lighting.
Okay. So we have various views here. I guess it's what, I mean, could everyone be comfortable with just go with the ordinance, or do you want to put restrictions? So, Mr. Hook, you'd be happy with? Yeah, yeah. And Mr. Riley, yeah. I think it makes less complexity. So if we could please have a motion.
I'd like to move for BAC 25-008 to approve as presented.
Thank you, Mr. Hoppy. Do we have a second?
Second that.
Second.
Okay, we've got two of them. Staff, will you call for a vote?
Josh Lindsay,
Yes.
Tony Perez,
Yes.
Deborah Freed,
Yes.
Bob Riley,
Approve.
James Hook,
Yes.
Jared Wilson,
Yes.
Darren Hoppy,
Approve.
Kay Duffy,
Approve.
Jana Herrera,
Yes.
Virginia Morello.
Approve.
Thank you. The motion passes.
Congratulations, and thank you for coming down. We appreciate that. Staff, would you call the next case, please?
The next case is BAC 25-013. The address of the property is 5013 El Campo Avenue. Ashley.
So we, as staff, are going to have to ask for continuance on this case. There was an ownership change after it had been noticed, and staff discovered that TAD takes a little bit to update, and we discovered it via TAD. So we are requesting a continuation until April so that we have time to properly notice the case.
Okay. But we go ahead and we hear the case, do we not?
So
Yeah.
do we, if the applicant's totally different?
Because it's on the agenda, it does have to be heard, and
Okay.
then for the board to make a motion.
Okay. Well, I was not aware of that. I thought that it would have to be requested for continuance and that I was not able to present any of the information because the ownership changed. Essentially, it's a parking variance on El Campo. If you look in your packets or on your tablet, you can see the request. They are requesting, they need 11 spaces. They're requesting 5 on site. There are several right-of-way parking areas in the immediate area, and there is also a parking lot to the east that was granted a CUP, and part of that CUP specifically provides parking for this address. I don't have the slides with me. I am unprepared for that. I apologize.
Okay, thank you.
Can I make a motion that we continue this?
We do need to ask if anybody is here to either represent or oppose. Do we have anybody online at all? Because we've got nobody here in the chambers.
They did indicate that they were going to attend online. I'm not sure if they completed that.
What's the name?
We have a Jason A. who joined the call.
Yes, I can represent the owner on this one.
Thank you.
Jason, can you state your name and address for the record?
Yes, ma'am. Jason Eggenberger. I live at 2104 Fairmount Avenue. I'm the architect for the project, representing the owner, the new ownership, I should say.
And can you just give us a little bit of information, what kind of business this is?
Yes,
Why you
ma'am.
think that limited number of parking spaces would be acceptable, things like that?
Yes, ma'am. So the site is very small. This would be retail, like for baby clothes and so toddler retail, that's the business here. Again, the site is very small, so to fit the required amount of parking leaves a very small footprint. And there is across the street from us, there's city-provided parking, and then the bank to the east of us has a row of parking in the front, and we would supplement our lack of parking with that. We've had conversations with the neighbors. They're all on board with what we're proposing, and then we're here to ask for that variance.
Okay. Is there anyone else to speak in favor of this? Is there anyone to speak?
I'm on. Can you hear me?
Oh, yes, Mr. Von Karens?
Thank you. Yes, we're actually the new owners, my wife and I, and we are the longtime owners of Babies on the Boulevard, which is currently further west down Camp Bowie, and we've purchased this property to move our business to and kind of be part of the small business community down on the bricks. Part of the reason that we're doing this is because we've always wanted to bring more local business to that area, and the building that we purchased has been vacant, I believe, for over a decade. It was last a salon, and so we have a vision that we want to bring cohesiveness to that block. We're on board. We'd be a great compatible business next to the toy store, and there's also a kids party thing in the same building next to us, and then there's another boutique retail down another house west, old house west. And so basically our vision is to move our business here. The actual retail footprint of the building would be, around 1,500 square feet. The building would be bigger, but the actual footprint of the building is the same. All that extra space would be storage, actually. So really the actual only business facing part of the building would actually be about 1,500 square feet, give or take. And then as part of the project, we would also like to pull in head-in parking across the front, and that's technically on city property. And so as part of the whole request, we would actually like to develop that on behalf of the city, so it'd be public use. And I believe we're able to fit 5 spots across the front that would help with parking in that block too. And we wouldn't own it, but we're happy to pay for the development of those spaces.
Okay, I think that last part is beyond our area, our scope of consideration, but I do appreciate the information. Do you have anything else to offer before I see if there's any opposition?
No.
Okay, thank you so much. Is there any opposition to this?
We haven't received opposition that I know of.
Fabulous, okay. Members of the board, do you have questions for the applicant at this time?
Excuse me, Madam Chair, do you mind if I make a statement?
Of course not.
So we are recommending as staff to continue this item. We really just need a motion to continue. The public hearing didn't have to be open because we have not confirmed ownership at this time. We need a letter of authorization from the new owner. So we will receive those documents and hear this case in full next meeting.
Okay.
We would like you to make a motion to continue, and we can go ahead and vote on the motion.
All right, well, that said, thank you, gentlemen, for your participation this morning, and we look forward to hearing you next month. Do we have a motion for a continuance?
I move for continuance to the April meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Riley. Do we have a second?
Second?
And was that Mr. Perez?
Yes.
Thank you so much. Staff, would you please count the votes?
Yes. Josh Lindsay,
Yes.
Tony Perez,
Yes.
Deborah Freed,
Yes.
Bob Riley,
Yes.
James Hook,
Yes.
Jared Wilson,
Yes.
Darren Hoppy,
Yes.
Kay Duffy,
Approve.
Jana Herrera,
Yes.
Virginia Murillo.
Approve.
The motion passes.
Thank you very much. We will hear from you again next month. Best wishes. Staff, will you call the next case, please?
Yes, the next case is BAC-25-016. The address of the property is 6801 Hatch Road. Ashley?
This is a variance request by Anthony Saris on behalf of Elite Development and Construction LLC to permit construction of a model home that would be located less than 300 feet from an occupied residence. The zoning is A5, but because it's a model home, that indicates that it is a commercial case. Here is the aerial location, or the aerial map and the location of the model home. And hopefully my drawing is, it's still not coming up. But as you can see on here, across Hatch Road, there is a there's a city limit boundary right near the property. So the subject property is currently a vacant property. It's located along Hatch Road and it has not yet been final platted. There's no presence of floodplain, but there is a downward slope beginning at the northeast corner of the property and it ends at the southwest corner. But that slope will likely change during development due to grading permits. The rear yard of the proposed model home would begin approximately 275 feet from the point of beginning of the overall property that will be eventually platted. And that's located in the northwestern corner. As you can see here, it is up on the upper left of that zoomed in portion of the plat. So approximately 275 feet from there is where the rear corner of the yard of the proposed model home is located. The closest occupied residential home is located approximately 146 feet from the model home, and the occupied home is located across Hatch Road, which is in the city limits of Lake Worth. If the variance is approved, the applicant would be required to meet all of the other development standards as it pertains to model homes. As you can see here, this is on the left, the proposed two-story single-family residence. And on the other image with the map, I have made a markup that shows the closest residential occupied homes, which are within that 300 feet boundary.
How many of those are, oh, I'm sorry.
Those three are within the 300 feet. And I do have another exhibit for y'all as well that kind of gives a radii. The ordinance states that in any residential district, model homes that are used as show homes and/or sales offices are permitted in a subdivision as approved by a final plat to which they pertain, but they are subject to the following conditions. No more than 5 model homes per builder per platted subdivision are permitted. Model homes that are located more than 500 feet from an arterial or wider street must be at least 300 feet from any occupied residence and are subject to a time limit of 5 years. Model homes that are located 500 feet or less from an arterial or wider street are not subject to that residential district requirement or the 5-year time limit. The proposed model home is less than 500 feet from an arterial or wider street, or I'm sorry, more than 500 feet from an arterial street. So therefore, they are required by ordinance to be at least 300 feet from an occupied residence. In your, and I believe the applicant has this, in your packet that was in the docket, there is another image that shows the radii of model homes. However, these are the only ones that are within the 300-foot limit based on measurements that staff was able to conduct. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
I'd like to clarify something.
Yes.
In the staff report under existing conditions, it does state that the rear yard of the model home would begin approximately 275 feet. So that's the yard, not the residential structure.
Yes, that is just the
Right.
rear yard. Because the property is not platted yet, we had to kind of do our best to figure out how it would be located. The property would have to be platted prior to any building permits being issued, and they are working through that process.
Yeah, it's just something good to distinguish because by the time you get to the residential structure, you may be right at 300 feet.
Exactly.
Anyway. So I'll keep that in mind. Thanks.
Is the overall zoning for 6801 A5?
It is.
So a little off the wall question. I would assume the intent of this restriction is to avoid the congestion from parking and things like that. And I note that that's the rear of the property rather than the front where people would be parking. It would seem from the diagram that you had that there's a road coming in, 2 houses adjacent, 1 house away from there, so people would actually come into the development and park within the development rather than congestion around the existing residential. Are the assumptions that I'm making sort of correct?
I would agree with your take on that situation.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions for staff? Yes.
So the one directly behind it is Lake Worth?
Yes.
Or all three of them behind it are Lake Worth?
So across Hatch Road is the boundary for Lake Worth. That is the Lake Worth boundary.
So all three of those arrows point to a Lake Worth property?
Yes.
I have one more question. Do you know if the infrastructure and the roads go in before the building starts?
Generally, they are required to as part of the development process.
Okay.
I've got a couple of questions, probably more legal than anything. One, can we apply this to a piece of property that's not been platted? And if it does shift any during the final platting process, do we have a problem?
So that was staff's concern as well, and we did speak with the applicant about that issue. If that does happen and the final plat is different, they would have to come back before the board. However, the applicant wanted to continue with the request.
The second question I have is, if we were to approve this, the 5 years would start today.
The 5 years would start, yes, today.
Okay, thank you.
Excuse me. Can you please allow me to clarify? The homes across from Hatch Road, they are within the city of Fort Worth. It's the homes to the west of the property that are not within the city limits. Okay. Yes.
Thank you.
So just one of the homes is in Fort Worth and the other two are Lake Worth?
No, they are all in, and that is my mistake. I'm sorry. They are all in the city of Fort Worth. All three homes that are within the 300 feet.
So demonstrated on your screen, the homes that are highlighted are in yellow, those are city of Fort Worth limits. The white is Lake Worth city limits.
Thank you. Any other questions of staff before we hear from the applicant? Okay, thank you, Ashley. I'm sorry, did you have something else, Kay?
So the property right across Hatch, the great big one, that's
Yes.
a single-family home on an acre or something?
Yes, that is correct.
And that house sits in the middle of that property?
It does, yes.
Maybe bigger than an acre.
Okay, we set? All right, thank you. All right, staff, do we have the applicant online?
We have Andy Poland, who is representing the applicant. Anthony, you can unmute yourself.
Hello?
Yes, thank you, sir.
Yeah, hi. Andy Poland. I'm with Graham Hart. I'm sitting in for Anthony Saris.
Okay, and if you would please give us your mailing address and
Yes, ma'am.
explain why we should approve this variance.
1753 Crested Ridge Road, Fort Worth, Texas, 76008. I could hear the concerns about the parking. We can actually put up a sign on Hatch Road if necessary that all visitors have to park within the community boundaries, if you will. So we don't have a problem with that. I met with one individual out there and I understand his concern with parking and whatnot. So we just respectfully request that we can build our model within the variance, if you will. And we wish everybody a good day.
Thank you. Is there anybody else to speak on behalf of this application? Okay, I don't hear anything from the staff. Do we have anybody in opposition? Nothing in opposition, okay. That being the case, commissioners, do you have any questions for the applicant?
I guess I missed it. So the north portion of the property that abuts Hatch Road, is that the backyard or is that the front of the house? That's the back, correct? Okay, all right, I'm double checking.
Any other questions for the applicant?
Yeah, one more. So are you going to build what type of fence is going to go on Hatch Road for all those properties? I mean, do you have a vision as far as, are you, with the subdivision and the way that that's going to be? Is there going to be something that the developer is going to install so that it would be not necessarily convenient for people to park on Hatch Road and then figure out a way to drive into the subdivision?
I can't speak for the developer. I'm certain regarding our individual lots, we have to provide fencing at the rear. My guess is that would be some sort of board on board. But I really don't want to speak for someone else, if that's all right.
Okay, so how many lots are in this subdivision?
I believe it's 155.
And how many lots does your developer own?
Say again, I'm sorry.
How many lots does your developer own?
So we are the kind of the image you can see on y'all's screen right there. We have 97 lots on, let's say, the west side of the pad site you can see right there. And I believe the developer has the balance on the east side, if you will.
Does that answer your questions, Mr. Hoppy? Okay. Are there any other questions? All right. Well, thank you, Mr. Poland. I'm going to close the public session right now. And
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
You're most welcome. Do we have any discussion from the commissioners? Any concerns, issues, support?
Madam Chair, if you would allow me to make a clarity. Excuse me. So this property is on a through lot, which would essentially have double frontage on Hatch Road and the road proposed by the development once it's platted. So they will be required to have a front yard setback on the rear of the property also, so a 20-foot setback. So with the fencing, if fencing is proposed, they will have to meet a 20-foot setback. Along Hatch.
Of the house itself or the fencing? You've confused me, I'm sorry.
The fencing.
The fencing would be 20 feet?
Yes, sir. Ma'am, I'm sorry. There will be a 20-foot setback along Hatch Road, so the building line. So the fencing would be set back from the property line 20 feet.
So let me
Fencing it will be proposed.
provide a little bit of clarification. City ordinance states that whenever a property has road frontage in the rear and also in the front for a residentially zoned property, they're required, that rear yard setback is required to be the same as the front yard setback. So because city ordinance does not allow for any structures to be built within a setback, and especially on a through lot, because you essentially have a front yard in the front and a front yard in the rear, the fence would have to be set back 20 feet from the property line in the rear.
And that will be reflected in the final plat.
So that would be something that they would have to meet once they pull the building permits.
I mean, this plat now does show the building line setback in the front yard and
Yes.
side yards. So I assume if it's next to a public right-of-way, they would need to plat it to where it has that 20-foot setback, a building setback in the rear.
So the setback would apply on the through lots, but I don't know that they would generally put that on all of the plats.
It'd be nice if they could.
The building line is not required to be on the plat, so they would have to meet zoning ordinance.
Can you
Just as a
clarify
bother.
through lot?
Yes, so a through lot is a property that has road frontage along the front property boundary and also along the rear property boundary, meaning that if you are standing at the front of the boundary, you are looking through to another right-of-way. If you're on the right-of-way fronting that property, you're looking through the lot onto another right-of-way. So because this one has frontage along Street D and also along Hatch Road, it is considered a through lot by city ordinance definition. Yes.
Okay. Are we okay with this? Yeah? Thank you. Appreciate it, Ashley.
Once again, I want to, have we closed the public hearing? Okay.
Yeah.
My only concern is that this would begin today. If they didn't pull a building permit for that building in 6 months, they would come in and ask for a continuance of the, or a extension on this variance, which could be granted up to another 6 months. And that clock still would be running from today.
Yes, and we've made the applicant aware of that, and they wanted to continue.
Thank you.
All right. Is there further discussion, or are we ready for a motion?
I'll be more than happy to make a motion. I would propose approval of BAC 25016 for the model home exception or variance.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Mr. Riley and Ms. Duffy. Staff, if you would call for a vote.
Josh Lindsay,
Yes.
Tony Perez,
Yes.
Deborah Freed,
Approve.
Bob Riley,
Approve.
James Hook,
Approve.
Jared Wilson, Darren Hoppy,
Approve.
Kay Duffy,
Approve.
Jana Herrera,
Yes.
Virginia Morello.
Approve.
The motion to oppose approval passed unanimously.
Thank you, and congratulations. Best wishes for you on this development. Appreciate you coming in. Staff, do we have online now the applicant for BAC 24029?
Karen is the applicant
Yeah,
online.
Okay, thank you. Yes, please help us understand this next case.
So BAC-24-29 is located at 4901 Boring Street. They're requesting a variance and a special exception for a sign. The zoning is CF, which is Community Facilities District. The variance request is to permit construction of an illuminated monument sign where none are allowed. And the special exception is to permit a monument sign with electronic changeable copy. Here's the aerial map and the current site photo. They do currently have a pole sign that is a non-conforming sign. The applicant indicates the intent is to remove that sign and replace it with a new sign that would be a monument sign. There was a sign permit for a monument sign that's awaiting client reply due to the decision of this board, and that was status updated on January 10th of 25. There was a zoning change in 2024, which changed the zoning from A5, which was residential, to community facilities. There was a commercial addition permit for an addition onto the church that was finalized in 2009. And in 2004, there was a council-initiated rezoning from B or ER, B being the two-family residential district and ER being one of the restricted commercial districts, to A5, and that was approved in 2004. The subject property is a triangular-shaped property, and it does have road frontage on 3 roads. It has road frontage on Borain, Chariot, and Vickery, with Vickery being a minor arterial. The existing church was constructed in 1972, and there was an addition completed in 2009. The property was rezoned from A5 to community facilities in 2024 due to the desire of the property owner to install a monument sign which is prohibited in residential districts. So they did go through the rezoning process in an effort to try to meet zoning code and also to hopefully get a monument sign as desired. Based on the road frontage for this zoning district, which the maximum sign area is based on 1 square foot of sign area per linear feet of road frontage for the exposed visibility of the sign. This sign will be visible from both Boring and Vickery, thus giving them the road frontage on 2 streets for a maximum sign area of approximately 56 square feet. The applicant is proposing 54.52 square feet, which is under their maximum that is permitted based on that road frontage with illumination. The property that's located across Boring is zoned A5, and it is a vacant lot, but due to the zoning, it does result in the applicant requesting a variance to allow illumination of that monument sign. The proposed monument sign contains 13.63 square feet of area for electronic changeable copy, which is under the 25% maximum. And the zoning plans exam staff has also approved the location and all other aspects of the proposed sign. So the star here on the screen shows the proposed location approximately of the sign. And this is the proposed elevation for the sign. It does meet the maximum height requirements. It does meet all other development standards. The variances or the ordinance sections that apply in this situation state that in community facilities, signs that are located across the street from a 1-family or 2-family district should not be illuminated. The source of light for illuminated signs shall not be visible and shall not be intermittent or flashing. Revolving signs shall not be permitted. Once again, they are requesting to be allowed to illuminate the sign. And then they also are requesting a special exception for the electronic changeable portion of the sign. Just to kind of give you all a little bit more information, the property across Chariot is also owned by the church, and the closest residential property across Boring is located on that southwest corner. But that street actually faces Chariot and not Boring. So there are no residential homes that would face the sign directly. And I'm happy to answer any other questions you may have.
I have a question. Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you.
No, please go ahead and ask yours. I'll go next.
Sorry, Tony. Mr. Perez. So right along where Shiloh is, there are 3 smaller lots and then that larger corner lot. You said those are zoned A5?
Yes. So those are zoned A5. They are 1-family residential
So
district.
while they're not empty now, there could be someone that builds and then...
There could be, and it could potentially face Boring. That would depend on, it looks like at some point there probably was a house on that corner lot based on that drive access. And I would imagine that Public Works would want them to still use that same drive access due to the frontage on Vickery right there.
Thank you.
Yeah, and that basically supports my concern also that it's zoned A5. A house could go there and there would be a bright sign right across the street from a house. So that's a concern. So we'll discuss it with the applicant.
Okay, Ms. Duffy?
That property is zoned A5, but it's on Vickery, right across from Chisholm Trail Parkway and the train yard. I think this sign would be the least of their worries if they actually built a house there.
Are there any other questions for staff?
I would like to clarify as well some of the zoning. So directly to the south is the rail yard, and that's zoned industrial. Further down to the west, it's zoned F, where the monument sign with illumination would be allowed by right on those properties. However, if they wanted an electronic changeable copy, it would not be. And then up further to the east, it's also zoned industrial. And with it being a minor arterial street, it wouldn't be out of the ordinary to see an electronic changeable copy on arterial streets. So I did want to just clarify the zoning a little bit for everybody.
Okay,
I've got one question to staff. I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
What's IDD?
That is industrial. Beth, can you remind me? Because I don't have it in my brain. It's an industrial zoning district. IDD? Is it a demolition delay right there? Okay, that area is in a demolition delay.
Oh, just that lot or the whole district? Railroads and all? I was just curious.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. That's a good question. I'm not 100% sure on that answer.
It's just the portion of the lot that is on that northeast corner.
Okay,
The rest of it is just light industrial.
okay, I hadn't seen the IDD, and I was just curious. Thank you.
Mr. Hoppy?
Okay, so it says here that on number 3 of the ordinance 6.411A3, electronic changeable copy signs shall not contain animation, rolling or running letters or messages, flashing lights or displays as part of the display. But you're telling me that they are requesting to have that, correct?
No, they are simply requesting the electronic changeable copy. It would still be required to meet all of the ordinance requirements for an electronic changeable copy sign.
Okay, well, can we go back to what they were requesting?
This is, again, just a proposed mock-up to show the electronic area compared
But you
to
had a
the sign
slide,
face.
you had a slide that actually said there were 2 items that they were requesting.
Yes, so they are requesting to permit construction of a monument sign that would be illuminated across the street from a A5 residential district. And then they're also requesting a special exception to permit that monument sign to have the electronic changeable copy portion.
Okay, but they would still have to fall within the guidelines to not have rolling signs or?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for staff?
I have one more.
Yes, Ms. O'Reilly.
It's probably very elementary, but it's not resonating. So what's the difference in electronic, as number 3 states, electronic changeable copy versus what you just said they're going, I mean, what's allowed, what's not allowed? Because I'm here, to me, it's the same thing.
Absolutely. So an electronic changeable copy can't have rolling letters, so no rolling messages, running letters that are running, flashing messages, flashing lights as part of their display, no animation, so it can't like play a video on it. That is what an electronic changeable copy has. Doesn't mean that it wouldn't necessarily, have like time and date or something about their service, but it wouldn't be allowed to be a rolling, flashing, continuous letter. Same thing kind of with the case that we heard for the laundromat. It's that same exact concept.
Ms. Duffy?
But it's something where they can change their message overnight.
Exactly.
Periodically update what their new services are.
Yes.
Every 20 seconds.
Yes, there is a limit on how often it can change. And there's also a limit about the light foot candles and the illumination there.
Ashley, can you go back to the sign?
Yes, so see this Jesus Saves that would be there, if that was an animation or a video of some type, that would not be permitted. But if it were just a simple electronic copy that showed, a message about their services, that would be.
So on the illumination, I'm assuming that we could put hours of restriction on the illumination
Yes.
as well. Because if it's illuminated during light hours, the impact, if anybody did want to build a residence on Vickery, would be minimal, right?
Yes, you can put restrictions on the hours of illumination. You can also put restrictions on the hours of operation of the electronic copy.
Okay, thank you.
So with the photograph that is depicted on the slide, they could or could not have something that depicts there in that particular photo?
So they would not, the Jesus Saves portion is just to indicate the area for the electronic copy. But if it played a video or some type of animation, that would not be permitted by ordinance.
Okay.
Are we set with staff? Can we move on? I don't want to rush anybody. You got no questions? Online, no? Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much, Ashley. Okay, if you would, if we could please hear from the applicant. It appears Mr. Teddy Bingham is online. If you could please provide us with introduce yourself with your address and introduce us to your perspective of this case. Thank you.
Good morning, and I hope you can hear me okay. Yes, my name is Teddy Brigham, and I serve as one of the elders at the church there. I am from the community. That church was built in '72, and I was a member there then. Most of the residents in the area are either members or are just friends of ours, so certainly they're aware of our mission there. The sign that we're just proposing is just replacing the old sign, which is unsightly, with the sign that enhances the area a little bit better. We did a major renovation to the building, and so that's the last thing that we need to do, is to make that sign look a little bit better. That sign that's depicted there is basically a mock-up, and she's right. We just basically would like to be able to display our meeting times. So there's that's really all that we have. My home address is 3941 Single Leaf Lane. I think I was supposed to give you that
Thank
too.
you. Yes, thank you.
So that's basically all I have, unless there's some additional questions or statements. Now that lot, those vacant lots across the street, they've been vacant for quite some time. We did make an attempt to purchase those, but the prices were astronomical. So I don't know what the intent for those are, but they've been vacant for quite some time. And I don't really see any issue with the lighting and whatever restrictions that are required upon us. We're going to adhere to them. So.
Okay, thank you, sir. Is there anybody else with you or elsewhere online that wants to speak in support?
No, no, I don't think there's anyone else here.
Okay, staff, is there anyone online in opposition? Okay, thank you. Commissioners, do you have any questions for this applicant?
I do. For Mr. Brigham?
Yes.
If I may?
Yes, Mr. Perez.
Thank you. So, Mr. Brigham, I just have a question. Why? Because I understand that you have the existing sign right there at that corner, and you want to place the new sign in proximity to that area. I do have a concern. However, I haven't seen any opposition from the owners of the residential parcels across the street. But sometimes we have to still keep them in mind. But is there a reason that you don't want that sign a little more centered, on your property on Vickery as opposed to that intersection?
Well, there's really no place that it could be centered. The parking lot goes down Vickery. So it really wouldn't, it would be fine if there was a place there. That really wouldn't matter to us as long as we have, an appropriate sign or some type of signage there. But no, that would probably be better, but we wouldn't be able to meet the setback there anywhere along Vickery. And of course, any of the residences, as you can see, they're on the opposite side of the building, so they wouldn't be able to really see the sign from their homes at all.
Oh, well, I'm not worried about anything on Vickery. I'm just as we're approaching that other street, which is
Boreen.
Yes, sir. Yeah, because they're residential lots that you never know what they could end up building there, and most likely, from the looks of the driveways, there used to be something there facing Boreen instead of Vickery, so they'd be facing a church, facing the sign. So if there was a little bit of distance, a little further down, closer to where those trees are, because I see that you have some bushes and then some trees, where the sign could still be visible from Vickery from both sides, and just a little bit distanced away from Boreen. Is that something you could consider?
Well, as I mentioned, I grew up in that community and I've been a member of that church since '72. But the houses that were once there when I was in high school were actually facing Vickery. The house that was on that corner across the street
Oh, I
from the
see.
sign, it was facing Vickery. But as far as any alternate location, we did explore alternate locations that would be better suited. But there's really no. It really wouldn't work based on
Okay.
the setback and the parking lot.
That's what we needed to hear from you. Thank you, sir.
Are there any other questions for the applicant? Okay, that being the case, Mr. Brigham, we are now going to close the public portion and we will discuss amongst ourselves any issues, concerns, support.
I'm struggling a little bit because of the A5, and I realize the train tracks are right across the street, so that's my quandary, because that's industrial, but there's not supposed to be illumination if there's A5, so I'm kind of stuck on the fence which way.
Mr. Perez?
Yeah, the thing that helped me was just that if and I believe what the applicant was explaining was true, because there are plenty of homes that face one direction, then you have a side entry for the garage. So it looks like most likely, and now of course we can't be sure because they can always change their mind, but the owners of a parcel right now have an option. And right now, they will still have an option, even if the sign is approved as requested, because if a previous residence was already facing Vickery, and they have this sign there, they will probably still, if they construct something, it'll probably still face Vickery. So they will at least have some option on what to do on their property. And considering it's been apparently vacant for a number of years, and nobody's been developing it, we don't see anything forecast. I usually would share your concern, but since it is a corner lot and they would have an option to continue facing Vickery if they build something, I have less of a concern now about that neighboring property.
Thank you.
If I may
Oh,
say
no, I'm sorry,
something?
sir. We've closed
Oh,
the
okay.
public hearing.
Okay.
So right now, do we have any other comments? Yes, Mr. Hoppy?
What's the building to the west? So there's 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 4 vacant lots, and then there's a building to the west.
And just
They're on Shiloh.
Just a clarification, this question is for
For
staff.
staff, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Please give us a second to look that up.
Okay. While that's happening, are there any other comments?
You know, this is Bob Riley. I think this is a good use. They already have a existing sign, even though it's not illuminated. And it might be a good case where limitations on operation would satisfy that possibility, while it might be slim, of a single family being located to the west. So I could support that, or even a restriction for illuminated sign and electronic changeable being dark other than 7 a.m. to 12 midnight.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same mind. I'll tell you that I probably wouldn't go as late as midnight, and it's just really to protect the lot next door because it is A5. Given that street, I would imagine that at some point that zoning will change. That's just my own guess. But I really have no problems with it if we do some restriction, and I would be more inclined to say like 9 p.m. or something like that. More so for the illumination than the animation. So those are my personal thoughts. So do we have an answer from staff yet on Mr. Hoppy's question?
We do. So the structure that is to the west is actually a nonprofit called Hope Inc. And then there is also the Eskimo Hut, which is a drive-through liquor and beer facility, also directly south of the Hope Inc. nonprofit.
Yeah, this is a road I happen to drive down quite a bit, and it tends to be commercial, even though it is currently zoned A5 there. I just really don't see any serious problems.
Yeah, I agree. I think, I agree with Ms. Duffy. I think that, you know, they're on Vickery, they're across the street from the train tracks, they're gonna have more problems than, you know, and I don't anticipate, I probably figure somebody's gonna come in and buy those 4 lots and throw a commercial building on it,
Yeah.
and something as far as that's concerned, so, but I do like the, the protection for, like Mr. Riley said, if somebody does come in and build some sort of a single-family home, I think that we need to look at that. And then at that point, if it does come to commercial, if they want to come back and ask us to readdress it, then we can do it at that time and then remove the restriction.
Right, that's what I was thinking. This is a question for staff. I mean, it would not be uncommon if we put a restriction. Would they not have the opportunity to come back at a later time for removal of that restriction?
They could ask for, I mean, it'd be a new case essentially, but yes, that is an opportunity that they would have.
Okay, thank you.
Could I ask a question?
Yes, Ms. Duffy.
Can we write the restriction that says if a home is built on that lot, we put a time limit at night?
No, because a home could be built by right, so that's the.
Right, but we say the time limit doesn't apply until there is actually a standing home.
Okay, then can we put it,
And I wouldn't assume that this will be a commercial lot one day. This is A5. Those neighbors have a say-so. So I would assume it would probably stay A5.
There was
You know, more than I would assume it would be commercial.
There was an attempted rezoning to E neighborhood commercial on that corner lot in 2019, and it failed.
okay.
My point.
Because why?
Good point.
I'm prepared to make a motion.
Thank you.
I recommend approval of BAC 24029 with the restriction of operation of both illuminated sign and electronic copy only between 7 a.m. and 11 p.m.
Second.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second. We're ready for a vote.
Josh Lindsay,
Yes.
Tony Perez,
Yes.
Deborah Freed,
Approve.
Bob Riley,
Approve.
James Hook,
Approve.
Jared Wilson,
Approve.
Darren Hoppy,
Approve.
Kate Duffy,
Approve.
Jana Herrera,
Yes.
Virginia Murillo.
Approve.
The motion to approve with restrictions of operation 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. has been approved.
Okay, it looks like we lost our applicant, but congratulations if you can hear me. And that was our final case. Unless staff or anybody else has new business to bring up? Nope, okay, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Excuse me.
Oh, here we
I
go.
would like to introduce our 2 new staff members. We have Scott Bellin, who is our new planner with the zoning appeals team, as well as Stacy Jones, who is our new plan assistant. And Stacy replaced Michelle Pena, who is now with the plating team.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Welcome aboard. We look forward to working with you. All right, the meeting is adjourned.